Hey everyone, Gill Gross here, and it is time for a preview of the 2020 French Open men's quarterfinal. You could not have possibly asked for better matchups than this. Djokovic versus Careno Busta, Rublev versus Tsitsipas, Schwartzman versus Thiem, Sinner versus Nadal. For all of the talk about lucky losers and qualifiers and upsets, and they were a lot of fun, these quarterfinal matchups, this final eight, it's really nothing but players who should expect to be at this stage in a Grand Slam. And I think it is going to make for absolutely awesome tennis. I will start with the top half of the draw. That is Djokovic against the Spaniard Pablo Careno Busta, the only man who beat, in quotation marks, Novak Djokovic in 2020. And I think this is a much more difficult matchup for Djokovic than Matteo Berrettini would have been. I'm pretty confident in saying that because Careno Busta is going to push the buttons that will trouble Djokovic a lot more than the buttons that Matteo Berrettini would have pushed. Berrettini kind of needs to hit Djokovic off the court if he wants any chance at winning. And in these conditions, not a chance in the world he would have been able to do that. And he wouldn't have been able to get enough off of his serve either with the way Djokovic is returning on the clay. So I thought that if it was going to be Djokovic Berrettini, which I had predicted, I would have projected very straightforward, perhaps straight sets for Djokovic. But against Careno Busta, I think that this could be a more difficult test, a more difficult challenge for Novak. The scenario in which PCB has the most success is if this match becomes about physicality. That's where PCB can have success. And I would say the scenario in which that happens is if Novak doesn't have the requisite timing off the ground, doesn't have the requisite precision off the ground in order to generate consistent offense from the baseline. And if that happens to be the case, Careno Busta isn't going to miss. He's going to be plenty willing to defend and run. So if Novak isn't timing his ground strokes well, he's going to have trouble finding ways to finish points. And I've covered this at length. It is difficult to finish points at the French Open this year. Purely, I don't know how much the cold weather has to do with it, but at the very least, the balls and the surface in combination with each other. So that will be kind of the question. It'll be, can Careno Busta make this into a real physical track meet? If he can't, he doesn't have much of a chance because in terms of most of the racket skills and the serve and the return and the variety and all that good stuff, Djokovic is going to have PCB beat. So it's an interesting one. I think it could get interesting. I'm picking Djokovic in 4 sets. He just needs to really hit out on his forehand. He needs to be aggressive off the ground and play first strike tennis with his forehand. And I also do think he needs to be patient, and we'll see what he does with the drop shots, but I think I would rather see Djokovic try to finish points by coming to the net in accordance with the drop shot, kind of do both of that with short balls. So sometimes hitting an approach shot, sometimes hitting a drop shot. And when I say approach shot, I mean hitting through the ball and going to the net. I think he should mix that up. That way he has multiple ways to try to finish points other than just blasting away from the baseline, which is going to be difficult with PCB speed. The next quarterfinal matchup is Andrey Rublev versus Stefanos Tsitsipas, a rematch of the Hamburg final that we saw a week ago, in which Andrey Rublev came through 7-5 in the third set after Stefanos Tsitsipas served for it. And this is another tough one, and I expect it to go 5. The way Tsitsipas wins, he actually just has more tools than Andrey Rublev. And that's kind of something that we could see him deploy theoretically. He's got a much better transition game, better net play, and a much better serve, which also we could see play a factor in big points if Stefanos can get some cheap points, some easy points, and Andrey is a little bit less likely to do that. The other thing that will be key is, can Rublev find the backhand when he is hitting second serves to Tsitsipas? Because if he doesn't find the backhand, I do expect that Tsitsipas can do some damage with his forehand off the second serve return. So these are some of the ways that I could see Tsitsipas winning. But Andrey Rublev, I would say, is a little bit more solid defensively right now. And it's not that he's a better athlete. It's just he puts more balls in the court from a defensive position, and he's more consistent in big moments. I trust him a little bit more in the tight spots. He plays such a simple game. There's not a lot of thinking. There's not a lot of calculus. It's very much see ball, hit ball, and Rublev is as mentally tough as they come. He just played a Martin Fucsovics who was playing outstanding tennis, and Rublev was just rock solid in the big moments and really with his back against the wall. And I expect that he might need to do that again against Stefanos Tsitsipas, but really it's the mental game, which is the reason why I give Rublev an edge in 5 sets over Stefanos Tsitsipas. The last matchup is the second to last matchup. Bottom half of the draw, Diego Schwartzman versus Dominic Thiem. And I think in this matchup, it's an 8-2 head-to-head for Thiem. The Austrian has been able to overpower Schwartzman in this matchup, especially with his heavy returning off of the underpowered Diego Schwartzman serve. And Thiem has been able to hit through the Schwartzman defenses. He's got more firepower. He hits bigger. He can push Schwartzman back. He can finish at the net with drop volleys, I think. But in these conditions and with the fatigue factor, I do think Schwartzman can make a lot more headway. I've been very unimpressed with Dominic Thiem's return of serve at this tournament. I am concerned about drop-off, physical fatigue, mental fatigue after the 5-setter with Gaston, and Schwartzman has made really quick work of most of his opponents. He'll have a full gas tank of energy. He is going to be very difficult to finish with the speed, with the quickness he possesses, with his defensive skills, with how many returns I expect him to put in play. I've seen Dominic serve better than he has in the last week. I've seen him serve better. I really expect Schwartzman to put a lot of returns in play. I'm not positive that Thiem is going to be consistent enough on his own return. And Schwartzman is rock solid. He will go toe-to-toe with Thiem in these heavy conditions. And I think he'll have a lot of success possibly backhand to backhand. Watch out for that pattern. Forehand to forehand, I don't really think Schwartzman wants to play that pattern, but I expect Schwartzman to trade his forehand down the line and get it to the Dominic Thiem backhand. I think he needs to take note of the things Gaston did. I think he needs to hit drop shots to try to get to Thiem's leg and take advantage of Thiem's court position, especially on the return of serve. I'll be watching for if Dominic Thiem moves up his return position against Schwartzman's underpowered serve. I think that could be wise, but I'm not convinced that the Austrian is going to be willing to do that. So I think Schwartzman needs to take note of Gaston, mix in the drop shot, and also do some of the things on defense that I know Schwartzman will do, especially on the forehand. Play high loopy cross court when he's pulled out wide on the forehand side. These are all things he's going to do and make things very difficult on Dominic Thiem. I expect to see a lot of incredible rallies in this one. It's going to be very aesthetically pleasing tennis, and I'm taking Diego Schwartzman. I haven't thought if it's 4 or 5. I'll go 4. I'll go 4 sets. Jannik Sinner versus Rafael Nadal. Sinner is the first player who has reached the quarterfinals of Roland Garros in his first RG main draw since, you probably guessed it, Rafael Nadal in 2005 when Rafa went all the way and won the tournament and beat Roger Federer in a final. So that's funny, right? That's interesting. I talked about it on last week's or this week's Monday Match Analysis when it comes to Jannik Sinner. When he's in the middle of the court, when he's not on the run, when he sets his base, when he has time, he just rifles ground strokes. It is fireworks coming off the racket of the young Italian. But what Nadal is going to do is he's going to hit angle. He's going to make Jannik Sinner move. He's going to, when he gets his opportunity to move up, he's going to move up and take time away from Jannik Sinner. He's going to hit it behind him. He's going to mix in drop shots. He's going to come to the net, Rafa Nadal. He's going to mix in all these things. He's going to use the backhand slice. He's going to use variety on his backhand. He's going to do all these things to make Jannik Sinner move around the tennis court. He's going to test his footwork. He's going to test his legs. And I believe that what we're going to see is that Jannik Sinner is not quite there yet. I don't think the feet are ready to compete with Rafa Nadal, especially on this surface. I wonder about the serve return battle. I don't know how that's going to go. But I do think that Nadal is going to be able to outduel Sinner from most neutral positions because I think that what we're going to see is that Sinner still needs to develop his defense and continue to develop his movement and perhaps his shot selection. Let's see how patient Sinner is when he's put under pressure. You see, Zverev just was not putting him under pressure. So unbelievable run from Sinner. I have nothing but, utmost respect for someone who I believe is going to win multiple majors and be world number one. But I do think that Rafael Nadal will show that Jannik Sinner isn't quite ready yet. So I will say Rafa in 4 sets. Those are my predictions. Enjoy the tennis, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.